Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Real Time Wisdom Show with Joanna and Lainey. Lainey is still on her big adventure in Australia, the land down under, and she's really down under in Tasmania. But
Yeah.
I have the incredible, beautiful cosmic goddess with me, Cheryle Freedman. Cheryle, thank you so much for being here with me. I so appreciate you and everything about you. So, I'm going to let you talk about yourself, tell people what you do, and then we're going to get into this fascinating subject of stargates, how we can access them, what it is, and Cheryl's going to tell us all about it. So, go, Cheryle.
Thank you, Joanna. Sit back, take a deep breath, and just relax.
I'm going to relax and let you just take it, run with it. I'm going to take a nap. No, I'm going to listen to every word you say.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I was really excited all day today thinking about coming on the show. I haven't been on for a while.
Mhm.
And some people might not understand what stargates are, and you and I are going to kind of talk about that and explain that. But mostly what I do is something called quantum healing.
Mm.
Either the exact Dolores Cannon quantum healing, which is QHHT, or the BQH, which is beyond quantum healing, which was actually created by Dolores's assistant, Candace Crow Goldman. Very similar. They're both very similar. I can quick tell about those a little later, but it's been a period of about 25 years where it finally led me to this exact thing. I started off with past life regression. And
Mm.
this is what one of my friends called past life regression on steroids when you do the quantum healing, because
Wow.
quantum healing, we're actually talking to the higher consciousness.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
I want to just have you pause for a minute because I want to tell everybody, if you're here, please say hello and let us know you're here. If you have any questions for Cheryle as she's talking, please post those questions
Mhm.
and go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, because we're going with the flow tonight. So if anybody's got any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Um, and I will explain a little bit more where the Stargates came from. But in a nutshell, if you just think of a Stargate as a portal, which is basically what real Stargates are and what Stargates from the Stargate TV show were, they're portals of getting from where you are now to someplace else in the easiest and fastest way possible.
Mm-hmm.
There are real Stargates. Einstein did devise something which was basically a Stargate, was how to get from one place in space to another place in space faster than the speed of light. But we're not going to go into all the, nerdy quantum physics things tonight. We're only going to talk about how you can get in touch with your own intuitive powers, and you all have them. Everybody has intuitive powers, even if you don't know it yet. And basically, how I use the Food Healing Oracle deck as one of my personal stargates to get at some of that information.
Mm.
So,
Tell me about that.
yeah, it's very interesting. I have to tell you, I have tried for so many years to learn to be a tarot reader. My husband reads tarot and he's like so good at it. We used to joke with him because we'd have these monthly psychic fairs, and he'd give readings which were supposed to be like 20 minutes for $10 or something, and it'd be like 45 minutes and we're going, Eric, because he was just giving people so much stuff. But
That's good to know. See, I never knew that your husband read.
oh yes, he does. And in fact, this was up in New York. He got certified. He took a whole course where
Oh,
you had to
wow.
get tested and for all
Yeah.
the levels. But maybe he should do that in retirement. He could.
Yeah. That would be very cool.
But it's like, for me, it was like the tarot cards. When somebody tells you this tarot card means this tarot card means that, I could never keep that in my head.
Mm.
It wasn't really until I found that when you and Lainey did the Food Healing Oracle deck, that I thought, wow, these look like something I could really connect with. They don't have like a lot of symbols on them, they don't have a lot of words on them. And then to actually take the certification course and learn from the two of you what meanings you got that were,
Mm.
you put into the book and into the cards, but also what other people could get with them. And it makes them more flexible.
Yeah.
So I will actually use them if I'm talking with a client ahead of their quantum healing session.
Mm-hmm.
And they do usually have a set of questions that they want to. Is that Lainey saying good day? Must be good day because
Yeah, yeah. I'll show it on here. Good
turning
day, lady. See, she's gonna come back speaking Australian
she's
or
turned into
whatever
an
that language is, right? I could just hear it now. She's probably even gonna have an accent because she's like me. We're empaths and we pick up other people's accents. Have just a few minutes, but wanted to say I'm going through a Stargate portal today of my own, seeing native wildlife.
Paul.
Your hubby should take our course. LOL. Yeah.
Yes, so
Tell
now,
Eric to
and of
take-
course, as we were talking about in your spare time, like he doesn't
yeah,
have
right.
but yeah. Um, so these cards, though, taking the class, and this is why Joanna's going to tell you that this class is going to be given at the end of this month.
Right.
And is it your last live class?
Well, it's our first live class. It's our first live class. Not
Oh,
our
your
last.
first, that's right.
We
were
had to
in
do
pandemic.
virtual during COVID.
Yeah,
So
we
this is
were
our
in
first
pandemic.
live in-person class, and it's also virtual. So people who are out of town and can't make it to Cape Coral, Florida, it can take it virtually or they can come live. And there's something very special that happens that is there. The energy is just bigger, more expansive, right? Hey, Denise. It's more expansive in person. It just feels more personal. And I'm really excited about our live class because we would have done them live all along if we didn't have the pandemic to deal with. So
it was just that
we
time.
are excited. And then, of course, we have the smoothie day right after, which anybody and everybody can come, whether they're a certified reader or not. And that is a strictly fun day with lots of smoothies, lots of nutrition, right?
But the class is great because it's energy. It's like, and the energy of each specific class, it's weird how even classes I have taught, not on the Food Healing Oracle deck, but it's amazing how the exact right people show up for that particular class and they all have some kind of a connection. And so the energy changes, but this is worthwhile. I was telling Joanna before we even came on that for me, not only did I learn how to read the Food Healing Oracle deck and got certified in that, it helped me understand other oracle cards. So the information that I got, I know now that I don't just look at the words. I look at the picture. I look at the colors. I look at what am I getting? What is popping into my head because I'm looking at these pictures.
And you're connected to spirit. So, in the class we do the psychic activation that helps people activate their innate gift of intuition. Every single human being has that innate gift. It's a matter of whether we choose to develop it or not. Some people are afraid of it. Some people have amazing intuition, but they will back off because they're scared of it. What our class does, and with the Food Healing Oracle deck, it brings it down to a level that everybody understands because everyone eats food. Everyone eats food. And so you can really, whether you like that food or don't like that food, and talk about going up to a portal. When Lainey and I were channeling the deck, we were accessing that portal. It was just, or Stargate, would you call it Stargate or Portal, or they're
Well,
interchangeable?
well, a Stargate basically is a portal. I was
Hmm.
going to put up, I know we practiced this before, or you have
Oh, I can put it up.
the picture
So what
is
am I putting up? What picture is this?
just the picture of, it's a picture of a Stargate so that I can explain. Um,
There it is.
right. So this, just to make it a little easier for people to understand what a Stargate is, a Stargate is basically a portal. It's something that you want to go through. But to make it more understandable about how you need to connect with that portal energetically, you have to be on the same frequency. I thought this picture would help. If you
Hmm.
notice on the outsides, the portal that's in the middle here, that's actually a picture of a little Stargate mirror that I have. That's a real replica
Oh, I love that.
of a Stargate from the Stargate show that was on TV.
Oh.
Well worth watching if anybody wants to learn a lot about connecting and ascension and all that kind of stuff. They did an excellent job on those subjects. However, so as you can see, I have these little around the outside of the circle here, the portal. I have these little waves. You can see they're like audio waves.
Yeah, I see that. Like antennas or something. Where
Right.
are
Well,
they?
they're like free. They're to just represent that the frequency level that's outside the portal is smaller. It's less strong, let's say,
Hmm.
than the frequency that's going across the middle of the portal. Okay. And so, how you need to access these portals and go through them is you need to be able to match your vibrational frequency, which right now you're the lower frequency around the outside. Well, in order to go through a portal, which the edge part of the portal is called an event horizon, you need to raise your frequency to the same level as it is right at that event horizon in order to be able to go through the portal.
Mm. And how would you do that? How would one person? How would a person do that?
Many different ways. I mean, you could do it by increasing your intuition with the Food
Mhm.
and Oracle deck. That's one way. You could meditate. You could just learn everything you can about how we connect with spirit, which the cards also help you learn how to connect with spirit.
Yeah.
Bottom line is connecting with spirit or the higher consciousness is you're connecting what you already have deep inside you, the same information, you're connecting that with whatever we're viewing as being outside of us, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Spirit, sometimes when I first heard that people could channel spirit like you and Lainey do, I was like, oh my God, I wish I could do that. And probably I can't, but that's not true. It's like once you realize that what you have inside in your divine blueprint is the exact same thing as your higher consciousness or spirit, you learn to connect those two things, and that's how you get the information. So think of it this way: when you're using these cards, maybe what you're getting is from spirit, maybe it's from somebody up here in the ethers,
Hmm.
but maybe it's information you already have inside of you that you didn't know was there and you didn't know how to get at it.
Right.
So you're basically opening a portal between that information that's inside you in code form, waiting for you to decode it. You're basically opening up that portal between you and spirit so spirit can tell you what that information is.
I'm not a techie person, as everybody here knows, but is it like opening your browser to another Google
You
search?
know what? That's a really good analogy. If you think about that, when you have information that you want, it's something you don't know about yet, but it's something you want to know about it. What do? You go onto Google, you type in whatever it is, and
Hmm.
Google takes you through whatever portals it takes you through to access that information for you. So it really is a lot like that.
Yeah.
Think of it as opening your own browser for all this hidden information that you have inside of you. And I just felt that for me starting out, one of the quickest ways was to do it with the Food Healing Oracle deck.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's universal. It's universal.
Yes.
You know, Mother Nature has us already energetically connected to all of plant life, animal life, and all of it. So,
Yes.
Because we're already connected, I think it's not a big leap to see how that food that's on the cards, or all food, has messages for us, right? That they want, that tomato, which is action in our deck, wants us to hear that message, right?
Yes.
It's red in color, it's vibrant, it's part of the root chakra, which is active, not passive. It's just, it's all of that. So, yeah, it's very cool.
And once you start doing it, I mean, this is just one way to start. Like Joanna and I talked about, maybe you meditate, and maybe that's how you open up that channel. But for me, this is one of the easiest, quickest ways, is even if you just pull one card for yourself every day and just say, what do I need to know about today? I pulled one this morning. I said to myself, what do I need to know about doing this show with Joanna tonight and what we're going to talk about? Because before you do it, you're like, oh, I need to have all these notes. We need to figure out what topics we're going to talk about. And what happened was I pulled, which maybe we can get rid of that again.
Okay.
The portal, because we'll try and explain it further. But I picked papaya, which is flow. And I said to Joanna, when I first looked at it, your first thought is to look at what it says. It says papaya and it says flow. So we're like, okay, we just need to let everything flow. But then I looked at it more closely, and given the topic we were using tonight, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 papayas here. And to me, this represented, there isn't only one portal. There isn't only one road that leads to Rome. There's many different ways to get there. There are many different portals for you to open up to your intuition. This is one of them. And we're talking about that tonight because this is the Real Time Wisdom Show, and it's about the Food Healing Oracle deck. But I thought that was amazing that I pulled that. I'm like, see, you can't make this up.
No, you absolutely can't make it up. So,
cards.
So can you talk a little bit more about when you have a client, and what is your process in order to tap in?
Okay. The interesting thing about when I do the quantum healing sessions is there's a lot of prep work that goes on before, mainly for people to actually write down on a piece of paper about people who are in their cast of characters, we call it, who they're close to, who their relatives are, what kind of work those people do, how, what kind of relationships they're having with people. Are they, adversarial relationships? Are they really close relationships? We do that because during the first part of the quantum healing, we do, I hesitate to say this. I was going to say normally we do like a past life first, but it might not be a past life. With quantum healing, the language to get you there is not go to the past life connected with this, which is what I used to do. It's go to the place, go and stop at the place that is most important for you to look at and examine. So it could be an alternative life. It could be another dimension. It could be this life,
right,
at an earlier time in this life. Many times it is a past life the person will go to. So they do that ahead of time. They decide, they don't decide what kind of past life they're going to, because guess what? Higher consciousness and spirit picks the one you need to go to. We can say go to a specific one, but it
That's
doesn't
not the way
work.
it works.
No, it's not the way that works. Spirit or higher consciousness will bring you to the one you need to go to for the information you need right now.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. But then the second part is the person writes down, I don't even care how many pages it is. It can be 4 pages of questions that you want to ask the higher consciousness when we connect with the higher consciousness. Write down all those questions. If I lump some of them together, if they're if they go together, if they're
Mm-hmm.
connected,
Mm-hmm.
but we could ask 10, 12, it doesn't matter. And what happens is the connection, and I think this is how Joanna does Akashic Records. The connection may come through me, but the information during my sessions comes directly through the client themselves. I don't tell them anything. When I ask the question, speaking to the higher consciousness, I ask the question, and then the answer comes out of the client's mouth, but from spirit first.
Wow. Wow. That
So
sounds
it's from them.
incredible.
It's
Mm-hmm.
from them. It's all from them. And I have had clients tell me it was the weirdest feeling that they felt like they knew they were speaking the words,
Mm-hmm.
but they felt or heard the message come first, and then they spoke, and then they felt like they were standing on the side watching somebody else tell me this information.
Oh, wow. That's quite the experience. I have to show you what Tamara just said. She said, I wrote a book before my reading with Cheryle. LOL. Cheryle, you are the bomb. Loved my reading with you. Oh,
Thank you, Tamara. Tamara is like, so here's what I say. And Joanna was talking earlier about loving what you do. I love doing this so much because to me, it's better than watching a movie. I get to sit here and I get to hear these fantastic stories about all these things that people did. And all I do is say, okay, what happened next? Or move them to the next spot.
mm-hmm.
But all that information is coming from them and I'm getting to hear it all.
Yeah.
They're sharing it with me.
You know, it's not the same. The Akashic record is a little bit different, but it's the same in terms of when you tap in, there is so much information that comes through. And
Yes.
the thing that I see with my clients is I'm just saying things that they already know, and they're getting the confirmation or validation from it,
Mhm.
even if they don't know it in that moment, that, oh, this is coming from me. By the time we're done, or even a couple days later, they're like, oh, this is my story. This is who I am. This is my experience with this, that, or the other. And
Yeah.
it's very, very, very cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's another one of your fans, and another one of these beautiful people in our cherries, Denise Flood. Cheryle Freedman did a wonderful reading for me. Thank goodness it was recorded, because I'm sure there was a lot of information that is, that you're made aware of, right?
Well, it's weird because I think Denise found the same thing, and I know Tamara did, is that sometimes when I first started doing hypnosis itself, people would say to me, I wasn't hypnotized. I heard everything you said. And you do basically hear everything that I said and that you said. But it's amazing that when I give them the audio and they listen to it, a lot of times people will say, well, I don't remember saying that. There'll be pieces of it that they don't really remember
Yeah.
talking about. And I know when I had my first regular past life regression that my mother-in-law did, I remember the whole time I'm thinking, okay, all this stuff's coming to me. I'm telling her this story. I'm moving right along telling her this story, but I feel like I'm awake, which technically you are more closer to awake than asleep. But afterwards, I had thought she recorded it on those cassette tapes. Remember the cassette tapes we used to have? And I was playing it back, and I thought that the session was about a half an hour long, and it was 2 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
So even though I thought I remembered everything that she said to me and everything I said to her, I didn't remember all of it.
Because we're in that moment in time, we're in an altered state, because
Yes.
I've done hypnotherapy and
Mhm. Yeah.
became certified in it. I don't do it as part of my practice, except in certain instances when
Mhm.
I'm doing trauma work. But,
Yeah.
I have to say that when you're in an altered state, yes, you are aware, sometimes even hyper aware of what's going on in your surroundings, but you're in a different frequency, a
Mhm.
different thing. So time is different, space is different. So you
Mhm.
might have that awareness, but you're altered. There's the only thing that I can
Right.
say. It's like, and to me, the body appreciates that because it's not coming from your mind. You're not getting exhausted
Yeah.
thinking about all of the stuff, how you have to answer stuff, like going, if you went to, well, you're an MSW, you're therapist.
Mhm.
Talk therapy, it's different because you're not altered in talk therapy. You're
Right.
trying to analyze and justify and all of the stuff that you're trying to do in talk
Mhm.
therapy in order to get to a place of healing. But this kind of work that you do, when they're altered, they cannot have that kind of, judgment back and forth. I can't say that. I shouldn't say that. That has been removed because of the frequency that they have allowed themselves to be.
Right. And I'm glad you said frequency because that's basically what all of this work is. It's energy work.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
energy flowing through your body and releasing things that are in there. And when there is a part of the session that after we've asked the questions to the higher consciousness, then I say, higher consciousness, could you please do a body scan? And if you find anything that we were not aware of, please let us know what it is. And explain as you go along. And higher consciousness usually will say, okay, I'm working on the mind right now. And, if they find something, they will tell me. And I will say, would you heal that for her or him,
Mm-hmm.
whoever the case may
Mm-hmm.
be? And when higher consciousness says yes, I say, could you tell me as you do it what you're doing so that we have it on the recording?
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, they tell me how their healing is with putting light energy
Yes.
to whatever it is, and that's what they will tell me. And that's coming from people who I've had people who didn't have anything to do with any kind of holistic anything before they did a session, and they will still tell me that.
Yeah.
So
I love that. I mean, and it's fascinating because I see the parallels because the Akashic records, I'll do a body scan, or
mhm,
I'll ask them for a body scan, I'll ask them for a house scan. So they're showing me their house as I walk through and where the dense energy is that is blocking them or not
cool.
allowing the flow to happen for them. And it's really interesting what comes through. And then the masters and teachers work with these people for like 72 hours is the thing where they do a physical healing, on them. They'll give them more messages will come through, and people will call me 3 days later and go, oh my God, the experience. So it's still working. It's still, the
Yes.
energy is still present,
And
right?
I'm
For them.
glad you're right. I'm glad you brought that up because it isn't just like I think we were talking before. It's not like people come to you and they expect, okay, it's all going to be fixed by the time I walk out of your office.
One session, everything fixed.
And it's not, but that healing does continue to take place because spirit, now you've opened that door to spirit
Right.
and you
Right.
have that connection. And so it knows, and you have put it out there to spirit that this is something you want. You
Mm-hmm.
want this healing. They don't, spirit does not do things you don't ask for.
No, you have to ask.
Mhm.
And it's really, something that I try to tell people. We live in a benevolent universe that wants to help us, but we have to be open to that. That's why when people come for an Akashic record, they have to prepare their questions based on where they're at this time in their lives. They're not going to hear things that about past lifetimes unless it's pertinent to this. It's all based on where they're at in their own consciousness and in their spiritual development, and you can tell by the questions they ask kind of where they are. And there's no judgment or anything. It's just, this is their journey for the time. But people who think, I've had such a hard life and whatever, they're usually not tapped in because they don't know how to ask. They don't even know that they can ask, because we're not taught that. We're not taught to ask. We're taught self-reliance, which is not a bad thing, but that we're here basically alone and there's nobody there. But I'm telling you, spirit. I was telling a friend that I really hurt my shoulder a couple years ago, and I couldn't do certain stretches, or I couldn't reach for something if I pronated my arm, whatever, right? I had it really difficult. And I started asking spirit, listen, I don't want to have surgery for a rotator cuff. I don't want to have any of this. So fix it. I have absolutely no issues with my shoulder anymore. I can do whatever I want with it. And I know there is no doubt in my mind that I could have gone to the doctors, had PT, gotten surgery and all of that. And yeah, maybe my shoulder would have been better, but to ask spirit and have spirit do it without any of that kind of intervention, it's just so amazing. But we just have to ask.
We do. And I mean, it's not that Joanne and I are saying don't ever go to a doctor.
No, I'm not.
Because, you need to, but there are plenty of times when people have gone to the doctors and, you get everything checked out with whatever symptoms you have, and they really aren't finding anything. And, and it's not that it's all in your head. There are many illnesses that do have a psychological component to them. Asthma is one of them. Yes, people are allergic to certain things and they get asthma attacks, but there's also a psychological component to it. Right. And so when you learn to manage some of that in whatever way, either, like slowing your breathing or whatever you do, or asking for help from spirit, things can improve. So it's kind of like you work hand in hand with the medical.
And I always tell my clients, please go to the, I encourage that, if you need a test or you're not feeling good. However, really check in. So I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Okay. So see that chart above there, because I'm in my healing room in my office, and it's an emotion chart and where the emotion is lying in the body. So somebody will come in and they're having kidney pain or, liver issues, or they can't breathe. They're not being able to take, and they're not sick. They've gone to the doctors, they've done everything, and it's like they can't find anything wrong. I'll go to the emotion chart and just show them. And it is what I refer to it, and is referred to in craniosacral therapy as an energy cyst. And that energy cyst is there almost like a real physical cyst, which is, creating this imbalance or whatever it is. But because it's energy and because it's emotion, I have techniques that help them to go into that emotion so that they can recognize it and then clear it. I'm not doing it. I'm teaching them how to do it.
Well, and that's perfect, because what we do with energy healing is we are helping people figure out how to heal themselves. We are not doing the healing. And if anybody is interested, just to show you that the medical community, the psychological community, and the energy healing community really are like this, hand in hand. There is a book. I was looking for something else on Amazon yesterday, and I found this book. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. It's by Bessel van der Kolk.
Oh, I have seen that book, by the way.
I have gone to see him speak many, many times, and he is basically a trauma researcher. I forget
Mhm.
which uh, college he's working out of now, but he gives a lot of different. He's been down here, I know, in Florida too, giving some talks. But that book, The Body Keeps the Score, basically tells you that when you have different traumas, that you do store that information in your body. And that's where a
Absolutely.
lot of the somatic stuff comes from.
Mhm.
And the interesting thing is he's done a lot of studies with, for a while, he was using theater and dance to help move the energy,
Yeah.
and recording how people were able to release some of that trauma they were holding in their body. But there's many different ways, and they're even that community is very in tune with, there is an energy component.
Mhm. Well, look at, trauma therapists that do yoga,
A
they
lot of them do
put
yoga.
them in the stretches. And
Mhm.
actually, when my husband died, tragically, I had a neighbor that did yoga, and she offered me one-on-one, and she would put me in positions where I was able to access that grief,
Yeah.
release it from the organ. It wouldn't be released from, my sadness or my grief, but release it so I wouldn't have that sitting affecting the organs of my. It was the most profound experience. I probably did that for about 3 months, and I'd see her twice a week, and she would do that. And I would just cry and cry and cry, and I could
Yeah.
feel my body
And that's a
releasing
release
that.
too. You are releasing those emotions,
Hmm.
out of your body. There is a real um, positive mechanism to crying. It's a
Yeah.
real positive outcome for crying. It's actually, when I first met Lainey and she was doing mostly the fifth tarot,
Yes.
which is a lot, it has that fifth element, which is spirit in those cards, but it is about water and releasing. And that's one way we release it from our bodies, is
Yeah.
crying.
Yeah.
And then you get to a point where you say you're cried out, right? And you actually feel that you've changed how you feel.
Hmm.
It does
Yeah.
change your energy. So yeah, I think we're going to start seeing more and more that things like using, I would say if somebody thinks they have no intuitive powers, to just start using the Food Healing Oracle deck. And just,
Absolutely. Because it's the simplest. It's like, it's not a simple deck. You can get all the information you need about any subject you
right.
need by using this deck. And at the bottom of my deck is the fertility card,
Mhm.
uh, which is kale. And you know, there's something about it helps you to tap in a different way and to access, and it changes the energy. When I start my day by reading pulling a card, it tells me that I am walking on sacred ground. Spirit is always with me, right? If I have a question during the day about a client or something that happens, and because this deck is out all the time, I'll just pull a card real quick because I need some clarity on it, or I just want to see, which way the energy is going. And I'm telling you, you don't have to be a psychic for years and years and years in order to use this deck. I was telling you off camera, the event that I did on Saturday with Kristen Collins, it was just amazing that these people who had never even held an oracle deck before, the information that they were able to see, and there was, some tears. Some people released certain things. They couldn't believe they got those cards and how right they were. And it was, these are people that don't have that, or they don't think they have that gift. But man, did they have a different picture when they left that day. It
And
was just
to
very cool.
to go along with that, Joanna, do you believe that those people, for some reason, they were there at that specific time and place because they needed that to happen? I don't believe
Exactly.
it's a coincidence. I don't. It's weird. Like, if anybody's ever on TV watched the Long Island Medium,
Yeah.
Teresa Caputo, like I've seen her in person, but you know, she will tell you that people will show up to her readings, like when she does the group readings, just because somebody else at the last minute said, hey, why don't you come? We're going to be doing this.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that person has a message. And it's like spirit put that there for them to know, okay, yeah, all right, I'll go.
Mm-hmm.
Like it might be fun. And it was because spirit nudged them in that direction because they needed to go and get that message.
You described me to a T. So many, many years ago, I was having lunch with a girlfriend, and she said, you know, me and a few other people are going to see Alan Asaria at his house. Do you want to come with us? And I'm like, I don't know. It was kind of like instant, and I don't usually make instant decisions. I'm a turtle, not a hare.
Man,
And I'm like, yeah, maybe I will. I guess so. Well, I could not believe the message that I got. It was so profound. There was one for me and one for my cousin who I hadn't talked to in years. But
oh,
I ended
wow.
up calling her afterwards because it was something about her husband and what had happened to him. And she was totally freaked out because I hadn't talked to her. I didn't know what was going on, but he had described the accident, who was involved, and
Wow.
she was like, oh my God. It was pretty amazing.
Everything is connected.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 3 years ago. Was it 3 or 4 years ago when Lainey first started the Holistic Chamber of Commerce? And I remember in January, she said, okay, everybody, what's your word for the year? And right away, it came to me, connection.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last several years, everything has, shown me how everything I do is connected to something else.
Yeah.
How all the people you meet, there's some connection there. There's something that you're supposed to find at that particular time. So you don't really meet anybody by coincidence. I don't believe that. So I don't believe that I met you and Lainey by coincidence.
Oh, no.
And it wasn't a coincidence to have this deck and to be able to, access the messages from it. And it's a good way to get started at home by yourself. Like, then you don't have to feel like, okay, I'm trying to read for somebody else. And what if I give them the wrong message? No, start doing it for yourself.
Right. And of course, we have the book to guide you.
Exactly.
And after a while, people will say, well, I didn't have access to the book, so I was able to tap in and get a different kind of message. And that's what we teach.
Yeah.
The intuition comes through. The book is there to guide you, but there can be multiple meanings to each card. So let me do this. I'm going to ask
When you pick a card, you will have a different meaning.
Exactly.
So to me, if you learn exactly what the card is, that's what bothered me about, and I know people who read tarot are able to bring all the other stuff in, but to me, if somebody says, okay, this card only means this one thing, then you're like, well, I keep getting this one card.
I know, what the heck?
But every time you pull that card, it could mean something different based on what's going on in your life.
Exactly. So, Cheryle, why don't we just take a minute right now for those who are watching now and those that may watch later. This is, in the Christianity, in the Christian religion, High Holy Week, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And in Judaism, it's Passover. It's and there's another holiday for another kind of religion, but maybe we can just pull a card.
It's Ostara for the Wiccans.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes.
So maybe you can pull a card and just see what the energies are for this week coming up.
Holy Week coming up. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be the right one, no matter what.
It will be the right one, no matter what.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I used to do this every time I pulled the card, go, oh my God. But guess what it is? Here's the energy for the coming week. Abundance.
Oh, that's perfect. I just got chills.
Abundance. And
So those of you watching now or later know that this Holy Week is all about abundance. Cheryle, thank you so much for being
you're
here.
welcome,
How do
Joanne.
people get a hold of you to get some of these wonderful gifts that you
Okay,
offer?
the easiest way to find out what I'm doing and what I have going on is to just go to my website, which is my name, CherylFreedman.com, but Cheryle has an E on the end. So it's CherylFreedman.com. And on there, I have usually about what we're going to be talking about with the Stargate Collective, which I do a group once a month on Zoom on a Wednesday evening. And that's helping people find their personal Stargates and how they use them. And then my CDs are on there. I also have a free download of just simple ways to connect with your higher consciousness. It's a PDF. So anybody who wants that, if they sign up for my email list, they can get that download free. And then people on my email list usually get first shot at when I have discounts on things. So it's not a bad thing. And don't forget, anybody's email list you're on, people, you can just get off of it anytime you want. Just unsubscribe. if it's not what you're looking for, just unsubscribe. But
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And of course, everybody, if you're interested in the certification class that's coming on April 29th and 30th, and the Smoothie Symposium on May 1st, both or just one of those, of course, go to thefoodhealingdeck.com and you can sign up there. And next week, we will not be having a show because it is Easter week. I'll be away. But please tune in because Lainey will be back on the following Monday, which is, I have to access my
probably
calendar.
talking like an Australian. So you might want to come and hear her accent.
That's right. You might want to come and hear her accent. And that's going to be Monday, April 25th. And she'll be back, I'm sure, with lots and lots of stories to tell us. And she's had some magical adventures so far. So I can't wait to hear what else she has experienced. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. And happy Easter to those who celebrate Easter. And Cheryle, stay tuned. Stay with me. We're going to say goodnight here to this broadcast. And
bye, everybody.
Love you all. Bye-bye.
Go get the Food Healing Oracle deck.
Go get it. That's right.